Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining us back on the program. So if you guys been following along, you know what's going on with my small block. We totally destroyed a bearing in it somewhere, so I'm just kind of getting ready to pull the motor out. I got to get the trans out too, because we got trans brake stuff coming as well. So this is basically what's going to be happening all over winter, is that motor rebuilt into a 408. But I was downstairs in the garage and I was kind of messing around with something. I thought I'd throw the camera on and show you guys just something I'm looking at. I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but I'm gonna pull that intake off and test fit my tunnel ram. So I had the tunnel ram on here about 4 or 5 years ago. At that time, what is going on in my neighborhood? Sorry, the siren's going on over there. At that time, I did not have the MSD, and some MSDs say that they will not fit a tunnel ram. Some tunnel rams say they will not fit an MSD just because the distributor size is a little bit bigger. So that's something different that I had on there before. And also, when I originally ran the tunnel ram, I never had a hood. So that's different. I'm not too sure if it's going to fit underneath the Hemi scoop that I have on there, but that's something I wanted to test fit anyway. Most likely what we're going to do with the 408 build is we're going to run the same Super Victor intake and probably like a 950 Holley. That's most likely what's going to happen, but I'd like to make sure that this tunnel ram will just drop on here, and then if I want to switch it or something, I can always switch it. That was kind of my goal this year before we ran into the problems that we had at the track. I wanted to run this out, get the trans brake in it, go for another test pass with the trans brake, and then I was planning on rear wheel dyno tuning it to find out rear wheel horsepower on this setup, switch to the tunnel ram, check it again, and then race it again, see if we can get better times, more horsepower. So that might be how next season goes with the 408, but we'll just have to wait and see about that. But this intake's already loosened off. Oh, I got a different set of valve covers we're gonna try to fit too. So the engine might have a completely different look after. Should be pretty cool, but that intake's ready to come off. We can also look at our cam and lifters at that time and that distributor gear, because a lot of guys think that it might be chewed up, and they're probably right, it might be chewed up. But it's ready to go, so let's just pull that intake off and check out this tunnel ram. Here is that unit there. That's an Edelbrock TR5 street tunnel ram, they call it. Old school unit, they don't make them anymore. So I was pretty lucky to get this one off eBay like 5 years back or something like that. It has the smaller street style top, I think they call it. You can get one with a larger plenum area, but they call that one the street one. And what's interesting about those tops, well, the base is small block Mopar specific, obviously, but the top will fit a Chevy one as well. So if you come across somebody selling a different top and it's a Chevy one, small block Chevy, it will fit your Mopar base, which is nice because Mopar stuff is hard to find, we all know. And when I originally got that guy like 5 years ago, I did like a quick polish on it with a wire wheel, had a powder coat, clear coat, just to keep it looking nice. Turned out really good. And then when I first got one of those carbs up as high as I could, get some more runner length out of it, and I actually had these guys made up. An engineer from work mapped it out for me, had them water cut, so I got 1-inch spacers I can even put in there to jack that thing right up, which is cool. And then you can always run a spacer under the carb too, which I also did. Now onto those carbs. Those are 660 center squirter tunnel ram carbs. Really cool, really old school. Again, they don't make those anymore. I was lucky to get them off a guy locally here. And I actually traded them for the 600 vacuum series that I originally had on it. He was looking to get more fuel economy. I was not. And then I took them all apart, did a complete rebuild on them. Powder coat black, the bodies, not inside, obviously. They already had those aftermarket bases on them, which was nice, but I put all new hardware on there, made them look real cool, real trick. Totally like the looks of these things. And oh, in the back, the secondaries, normally on these, you cannot change. It's a plate style, but I have a quick fuel, I think it's QuickTime Fuel makes it. It's a plate that goes in the back, and then you can change jetting, which is super cool and very necessary for proper tunnel ram tuning. So I probably wouldn't keep the fuel line like that, but for the time being, it did serve its purpose. A really cool trick thing about these carbs is they are fully linked 1-to-1, so secondaries operate the exact same time as primaries. Actually, I guess you get a little bit of action out of the primary. Yeah, you get a tiny bit out of the primary first, but basically you tip into this thing and it's all 8 barrels coming at you. So here's a couple pics from a few years ago when I actually had the Ram on the car. We actually drove the car up north to a Mopar show, so it put a couple hundred street miles on her. Had it on for about a summer. So here you can see me, there's Natalie, tunnel ram, and no hood. That's kind of how I ran it. I did have that black hood on there too later on when I was trying to race on that tunnel ram, but I didn't have the Hemi scoop at the time. And then if I get really crazy, I could always cut a hole in my super nice fiberglass GTS hood. You guys have probably never even seen that on the channel. That came with the car when I got it. It's paint matched. It's a really nice hood. It's actually fiberglass. A lot of people think it's steel because it is a really nice fiberglass unit. It's bolt on, so it acts just like a steel hood, but full fiberglass, super light. It's got the proper GTS inserts, badging, trim. Could use a hole though. So now that you know what it is and a bit of the history of it on the car, let's see if we can fit her back on there. Okay, so everything's unbolted. So first thing I'm gonna do is gonna pop those valve covers off. Ooh, look at those rockers. And then I should just be able to pop this guy off. Oh yeah, nice and loose. Okay, so now we can see the cam and the lifters, and there's that distributor drive in the back. Now those aren't chips in the teeth back there. That's just a little bit of yellow paint, probably to check the mesh. And the cam looks decent. Like you can see roll lines from the lifters, but I don't see any like big scarring or anything like that. Those are those Morale solid lifters that you don't have to clearance the block for to run a solid roller lifter in these LA blocks. That's always an issue for guys. Doesn't look crazy dirty in there for the amount of stuff that I pulled out of the filter. But again, we're just gonna have to see, check everything. Weigh in, guys. Let me know if you think that those lifters are salvageable or if you just get rid of them, get brand new ones. I don't really want to mess around. I certainly don't want to have any failures on the new engine. But we'll find that all out in the tear out or the tear down. So for this though, let's just go ahead and see about getting that ram on there. Oh man. Freiberger was right though, these things are heavy. Boom. Looks pretty good. Fits like a glove there. Let's check that distributor. This is the one thing I was really not sure about, but looks like, oh yeah, totally, plenty of clearance. All right, and I got one more thing to take a look at too, is I have a second set of valve covers we're gonna check out and throw those on too. So here's some more Mopar Gold for you guys. So those are the original valve covers we were running, the same ones everybody has. I did strip them of the black paint. Silver powder coat with a clear over top, and then had the gold T-handles on there. They looked really good. I really do like the looks of those guys. But my buddy Brandon from work, shout out to him, hooked me up with these guys. These were for like W engines in the 90s, I believe. Don't persecute me if I'm not exactly right on the legend of these wide valve covers, but they're super cool. They make your engine look much bigger, which is always a bonus. And I do know they are for I believe W5, but W style anyway. You can see the push rod locations along the top are off-centered, so off-centered push rod is W style engines, and I've marked them out. If I do go to use these, I will kind of clearance them to make sure my push rods don't hit, and then I'll glue a gasket on because then the retainers are kind of gone. But let's go ahead and drop these on and take a look at them with the ram on there. Dude, that looks so killer. That looks like a whole new engine. Oh man, so obviously I'd have a bunch more work to do. Linkage wouldn't be too bad once I go to the trans brake. It's basically just throttle and that's it. I'd have to put a hole or a breather in these valve covers. I'd probably weld in a -10 on each side and then run to a breather tank possibly, and then re-powder coat those to match the carbs exactly, but that looks pretty trick. Man, what do you guys think? I already know what you guys think. You're gonna tell me to do this, aren't you? Yeah, I know. And I even had some 3-inch K&N filters. I pretty much had everything ready to go, but the car was working, so it wasn't worth changing it over. But let's see if we got hood clearance. This is a big question too. Ooh. Oh man. Oh jeez. Check that out. Just clears. I'd have to make up a base or a couple bases and a lid, so I might run out of room there. Could always get a shorter filter though. Looks pretty sick though. Or maybe just run no filter at all. Check it out there, you can see the center squirter giving these carbs their name. It's pretty cool. So the setup is so killer, and it looked super killer before too. You might be asking yourself why I took it off. Like I said, at the time I was racing the car, and I learned a lot by having that on the car, trying to race it. I had it tuned great for the street. I could rip around the street, no problem. It started good. All the problems you hear about tunnel rams on the street, I didn't have any of those. The wideband O2 helped a lot with that. But when I went to go race it on vacuum secondary carbs with like a 2500 stall, 3.5 gear, and just a smaller hydraulic flat tappet, it was on that 420 horsepower motor. Basically dropped the ram on that guy. I couldn't get the car out of the hole as quick as I could on a single 4-barrel. So it just did not fit the combo at the time. Having said that, now with a 4500 stall, 430 gear, big cam, going to a bigger cam, it might actually work pretty well, considering you're gonna be out of that hole when you launch at 4500 RPM anyway. So you never know, maybe it'll make a comeback. Like I said, we'll have to see. Next thing I gotta do, I gotta get this motor back out of here, so that ram's gonna come back off, go back on the shelf, get my other intake back on there so I can pull the motor there. Get the trans out too. You'll see all that coming up soon, including engine breakdown and then the rebuild. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys soon.